Good night and welcome back to What's Happening. We have Miss Sherry Gibbs, who's an osteoarchaeologist and a lecturer at the University of Galen, here to talk about forensic anthropology. Of course, it's now being offered at Galen University in the summer. So can we go back to some pictures, some interesting photos of crime scene that Miss Gibbs is going to explain for us?
Yeah, I think these next few slides are just going to be showing some trauma that would have occurred at or around the time of death. They may have resulted in the cause of death or, some... So that's blunt trauma. Yeah, maybe a hammer hit to the head, to the top of the skull. This is actually from an archaeological skeleton. There's actually an arrowhead that's pierced the breastbone or the sternum of the individual.
Really?
Yeah, there's the tip of an arrowhead going through the bone there.
Okay.
These are examples of gunshot wounds on the skull.
Oh, really? The one to the left as well?
Yeah, all of them are.
Look like chop wounds.
Yeah.
And chop wounds look like that too?
Look like an axe.
Well, yeah, just when the bullet enters and it will sometimes shatter, severely fracture the bone.
And from that, can you determine what kind of bullet it was or no?
Sometimes you can, more so looking at entry and exit wounds, and if it was close range, if it was far away.
So if it was close, it would have been more shattered bones, right? And like the one to the left.
Right, yeah.
And then those ones
The
from
closer
afar.
one would be like this one.
Yeah, these are actually exit wounds.
From farther, okay.
Oh, exit
Yeah.
wounds.
Okay.
Another one.
Yeah, and this is also another exit wound.
Ooh.
So forensic anthropologists will actually do a lot of experiments, oftentimes using pigs. And so they might take the head of a pig or different parts of the pig and set them up and
And the pig is
practice this target
preferred
practice
because the tissue is similar to human? Is
right.
that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they'll they'll shoot the head of the pig with different guns and at different ranges, and then look at the bone, look at the skull, and say, okay, well, this is the pattern that we would see if it was close range, with this particular type of gun. We would expect to see this certain pattern, and they can use all of these when they're dealing with cases. If they've got a gunshot wound, then they can take these examples and try to figure out what happened to the individual that they're analyzing.
Is there any other specimen that would be used apart from a pig, or or a pig is pretty much what's used?
The best.
The best.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, really, yeah.
Okay.
How does forensic anthropology play a relevant role in the excavation of ancient Maya ruins in determining the period and culture of the inhabitants?
Yeah, like I had mentioned earlier, forensic anthropologists are usually trained physical or biological anthropologists and osteologists. So they've most likely spent some time at an archaeological site or in the field or in the lab analyzing the skeletal remains that have been excavated from an archaeological site. So that's usually where much of their research is usually conducted, and then they'll apply their knowledge of the skeleton to forensic work.
So as an osteoarchaeologist, do you sometimes or from time to time work along with the forensic department here in Belize, or?
No, I've never done that.
Oh,
no.
so no guest speeches
Like
and stuff
to?
like that? I'd figure you'd be like a guest speaker at some training course or
Yeah.
something like that.
No.
Not yet.
The only, this was a few years ago, I spent a little bit of time in Guatemala, and sort of the closest that I got to doing any kind of forensic work was with a human rights organization there with the Archbishop in Guatemala City. And they were exhuming mass graves around the country, and I was just working in their lab, and they had brought in a collection. It was mostly women and children that had been killed in a church, and then the remains quickly buried. And there was some soft tissue still on some of those bones, but it wasn't, it wasn't sort of wet soft tissue. But yeah, that was really rough. Some of the shoes were still there, so you would open up these paper bags, and there'd be a little shoe from a little kid with, you know, the foot bone still in there. And that's sort of the closest to any forensic work that I've done, was just sort of helping them put together a biological profile of those individuals. Then they would take the information back to the village where the remains had been exhumed and talk to the people, the surviving village members there, and ask them, you know, who they're missing and who they know was maybe killed, to try to figure out, you know, who the remains were, and then we could give those remains back to the families, and then they could do a proper burial. And then also use that information to build a case against the perpetrators.
Okay. Oh, that's very interesting.
So if anybody is interested in, you know, pursuing a degree in forensic anthropology, it would be best if they go abroad, since it's only an elective course that you're offering here in Belize.
Well, they could actually do their anthropology degree at Galen University. They could get their bachelor's at Galen and then
Apply to
go abroad
grad school afterwards.
Yeah, and it would. They would probably do really well going to the University of Indianapolis, where Dr. Narwaki is, since he's a forensic anthropologist up there, and they have a graduate program. But you know, anyone who's interested, I recommend, you know, they could come to Galen for at least their bachelor's, and then from there springboard off to anywhere in North America or Europe, or even Guatemala for that matter, or Mexico, because they also have universities there that you know, anthropology departments. So.
Are there a lot of people who get into this field? How many people do you estimate are?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people are interested. It's just, you know, following through to the very end to sort of get your PhD in it, and then to you know, get your certification in forensic anthropology. It's not, the field itself isn't in real high demand, but you know, if you're interested in being a university professor, or you know, working in academia, working in colleges, or even in some forensic centers do hire forensic anthropologists. And also in the US anyway, their military has a section where they spend a lot of time and money looking for American war dead who've missing in action. And so they'll go over to parts of Asia, you know, in Korea, Cambodia, Vietnam, because they'll ever so often get reports of remains found there from those wars.
So, well, there are only a few persons who have identified themselves as forensic anthropologists. Why is it such an exclusive profession?
Yeah, I think, just as I'd mentioned, there isn't really much of a demand for it. It's not that it's, you know, a sort of an exclusive elitist, it's just the demand isn't really there. There are a lot of physical anthropologists who are out there teaching at universities and museums, but I guess those who've actually gone that extra step to become certified to be forensic anthropologists, I guess just because the demand right now isn't really there.
Okay, so well, we've come to the end of our questions, and I want you to go ahead and invite our viewers, those who are still a bit, you know, undecided about whether or not they would want to join the course, you know, just invite them to apply and find out, or for information's sake, or for those who think that they could, you know, attempt to do the course, you know. Give them a little push.
Or also, if you have any additional information about the forensic anthropology course that we have not touched on, or ask any questions on.
Yeah, I think you guys have done a really good job. You've asked some really great questions. I can't really think of anything else to add on top of what we already discussed. But yeah, I encourage anybody out there who's watching to get in touch with Galen University, and you can also check out the webpage and check out the course. We've got a little bit of info. We also have the syllabus already drawn up, so you know, if anyone's interested, we can always send you a copy so you can go through it. You know, people don't need to be, I think, too squeamish or nervous, because I think we're going to get people from across the board, people who don't have any experience, to probably to people who do have some experience, which will be really nice, because, you know, then I think they can help out and share those experiences with the other students. We're also hoping to get a lot of international students to come down And I think that'll be really interesting as well to get that good mix. So I really encourage people to get in touch with the university and,
So
sign up.
You gave us a number. Could you repeat that number and the website?
824